Hi there, it's Evelina back with another art update. It is the 21st of July, and I've been doing this for a month now. Um, Doing something like this really puts it into perspective how long a month actually is. But yeah, it's been incredible. I mean, already just over this month, kind of focusing more on the films and figured so many things out and exploring a lot of different things. And I kind of wanted to focus on that kind of new exploration that I'm doing through my videos. There's a lot of themes that I deal with, and it is kind of hard to um, mention every single one of them. But I just wanted to talk about some that I haven't really talked about, but that are quite important. For example, in my films, it still has this focus on nature. Nature as kind of not only the set to my films, but also a participant. Kind of, as I mentioned, it was a while ago, but I mentioned how the ties with romanticism and their view on nature. I think one of the since it's quite apparent that I hold nature in high regards. I think we do sometimes overlook it, especially those places that I do tend to film at, which are incredible and beautiful places that are right next to a train station and roads and like highways and parking lots, and it's just so sad that people miss that. I think that nature has a lot to teach us, and I think that it is very magical. I think it's, even though the word natural means what we are used to, what is expected, I think that nature is anything but. And that is kind of what I am exploring through the films as well, kind of trying to show that that view as well. It also deals a lot with the mythical aspect, the mythical kind of view on nature as being this kind of home for all of these unknown things, all these I want to say associations, but it's more the can't find the words for it, but I think that when you look at these all-time folklores and all these stories that are kind of they're very much moral narratives and kind of dealing with these things. I mean, sometimes they were meant to kind of warn off children from doing certain things, or from running and getting lost in the woods because that's where the pixies are waiting for you. There's that kind as well, but there's also this kind of notion of being respectful and being aware of the power that lies in nature with, I mean, the wild, untamed nature, that kind of, the unknown aspect to it. I think that one of the things that I find really important is to have an open mind, especially to kind of not be too narrowed in one's view of this world, especially now when we have such a scientific way of looking at things. and people are growing up not knowing that they do not believe in such and things like fairies and like other things, and they don't need to. But I don't think that we should not believe things, like we should not be so narrow in our minds that we do not believe that this world can surprise us. I think that is a very important thing for us to learn or relearn, so to speak. And I think seeing the world in a new way is what I'm trying to do with my artworks. Kind of also going back to that mystery and to that way of viewing nature as well. Obviously, there are also ties to the kind of the maiden image and this kind of youthful innocence of it. Also, I think that you can probably read into some what's it called now? Feministic views in there as well, which is mostly because it's just me in there. But that is more because of the intimacy and the kind of yeah, that kind of intimacy and that kind of maiden-like. You kind of get to see a way, kind of see it through her eyes, or through, yeah, watching it through her eyes and through following this one character. And yeah, I think those are some of the things that obviously my films are dealing with. It is very challenging to kind of bring those things back, especially when they have been popular back in the day, so to speak, and kind of overlooked now, half forgotten and half remembered. And I think it is very important to experience them again. Kind of a way to defamiliarize oneself with the world, to rediscover it again. I think altering the way that we see the world can have a wonderful effect on us as people. I think it makes us not only wiser, but I think that makes us happier. I think that makes us expect more, and perhaps even enrich our experience on this earth with the limited time that we have. I think that we should take the time to kind of relive it again, unfamiliarize ourselves to then familiarize ourselves with it, and keep doing that. I think if nothing surprises you anymore, I think that makes one bored. I think every time you get a new experience, or a new when something surprises you, I think that gives birth to a new feeling in us. Yeah, that kind of ties in with the the wonderful book, The History of Love, there's a chapter in there which is called The Birth of Feeling, and it talks about that, about how how, like humanity, we come in contact with all of these emotions. We experience them for the first time, and then we experience new ones, and they spark each other. And I think that it's beautiful. Actually, I can probably read a part here, which is kind of ties into this. Because first he talks about how people were experiencing these things, but there were no words for them because these feelings were new, and so they went unmentioned. And it says, this is from the chapter The Birth of Feeling. The oldest emotion in the world may be that of being moved, but to describe it, just to name it, must have been like trying to catch something invisible. Then again, the oldest feeling in the world might simply have been confusion. Having begun to feel, people's desire to feel grew. They wanted to feel more, feel deeper, despite how much it sometimes hurt. People became addicted to feeling. They struggled to uncover new emotions. It's possible that this is how art was born. New kinds of joy were forged, along with new kinds of sadness. The eternal disappointment of life as it is, the relief of unexpected reprieve, the fear of dying. Even now, all possible feelings do not yet exist. There are still those that lie beyond our capacity and our imagination. From time to time, when a piece of music no one has ever written, or a painting no one has ever painted, or something else impossible to predict, fathom, or yet describe takes place, a new feeling enters the world. And then, for the millionth time in the history of feeling, the heart surges and absorbs the impact. So that kind of shows kind of my view of it, because I think that with great art there is this new feeling being born, and for me that is the kind of defamiliarizing of one's world, of one's surrounding, and then in particular nature, for I think nature is a great vessel for that, for it is constantly surprising and evolving and constantly surprising us. They constantly find new species that no one ever knew existed, and there are still parts of the world unexplored, and we can't just sit here and expect to know everything. There is a wild, beautiful world out there, and it deserves to be seen, not only for the first time, but to be admired and experienced again and again. And I love that idea, and that is what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to create this world that is similar to ours and carries these the history that we have and the captures kind of the world that we live in, but in a slightly different way. And then perhaps we'll see it anew. That is my art update. Bye.